What's up, Ragin Nation? How y'all doing? This is Alex. You watching Ragin Ronin review. I got a review for you. Last Friday, I saw Star Trek Into Darkness, directed by J.J. Abrams. It is a sequel to Star Trek, the 2009 film, also directed by J.J. Abrams. And I gotta tell you that this movie, Star Trek Into Darkness, is absolutely awesome. It is spectacular. In fact, it is even better than the first one. I absolutely love Star Trek, the one that came out in 2009. In fact, I saw it twice in the theater. But I gotta tell you that this one, Star Trek Into Darkness, is just so much better. And it is awesome in so many different ways, which I'll explain later. I've always enjoyed J.J. Abrams' work, from Mission Impossible 3 to Star Trek to Super 8 to Star Trek Into Darkness. I think he's a great storyteller and a great visionary director, and I think that Star Trek Into Darkness is his best film to date. Now, with regards to this review, I'm not going to get into any spoiler territory, so you don't have to worry about that. Let's talk about the story. The story was kind of, you know what, I'm not going to really talk too much about that because it's just full of surprises, okay? One thing you got to know is that Star Trek, the 2009 film, is a reboot, okay? It's a reboot, so they established the characters and they established the setting, okay? The Star Trek TV series was always about exploration, okay? Well, Star Trek Into Darkness is still not quite there yet. We're not dealing with exploration just yet, okay? Maybe that'll come later on. I'm pretty sure it will, but what we're dealing with here in Star Trek Into Darkness, and I'm going to keep this very, very vague, okay? I don't want to tell you too much about it because it's full of surprises. We're dealing with issues, okay? We're dealing with an issue, rather, and it is a very big issue that leads to some very great action set pieces. In fact, they're absolutely spectacular, and that's what really the story is. The story is an excuse to give us great action set pieces, and that's the one thing that defines these Star Trek films. They're full of action. In fact, Star Trek, I think, really set the bar in terms of Star Trek movie with a lot of action. Well, this movie has even more action. There's just a lot of action in this movie. So, but I'm not going to get into talking about the action just yet. Let's talk about the characters, okay? The acting is all there, okay? When I mean that, what I mean is that the characters that we love and the performances that we love from the first one, it's there, and they give us even more, because the first one was all about establishing those characters. Well, this one, Star Trek Into Darkness, is about developing those characters, okay? We see a lot more developments that we I guess we didn't get in the first one, okay? I think the characters were really well developed, but we developed them even more in Star Trek Into Darkness. The acting is all top notch, okay? I cannot expect anything less from these great actors. We got Chris Pine as Kirk, Captain Kirk, and he not only emulates William Shatner, but he adds his own flavor to it. He brings his own version of Captain Kirk to it. We got Dr. McCoy, played by Carl Urban, and I gotta say that Carl Urban playing Dr. McCoy is my favorite character in the series, because he really does a great job with emulating DeForest Kelley. I mean, he feels like a younger DeForest Kelley because he does it so well. You know, he's got all the lines down, and I just love it when he goes on screen, because I'm always curious about what he's gonna say next, and everything he says always amuses me. So that's always cool. Next we got Zachary Quinto as Spock, and no complaints there. You know, I cannot think of another person playing Spock. And then we got Zoe Saldana playing Uhura as the communications expert. She does a great job. No complaints. And then we got Sulu, okay? Sulu is played by John Cho. And some of you guys might think that Sulu contributed the least to the story, but I have to disagree. There was one defining moment. It's a great defining moment that Sulu had somewhere in the middle of the film, which really defined his character, okay? We always thought him as someone who's like, you know, he helps navigate the ship, but he's just so much more than that. And I think that what we saw and how he contributed to the story is kind of foreshadowing what happens later on in the third movie, okay? And I gotta tell you, even though that was a small scene, it was a great scene, and it was all driven by dialogue, and it just makes you go, oh man, that moment was just money, you know, like that was money. Anyways, with regards to the other characters, we got Chekhov, who was played by, oh man, I forgot his name, but I think he did a great job. And of course, we have Simon Pegg, the wonderful Simon Pegg, playing Scotty. And what I loved about Scotty's character is that we always knew Scotty was kind of a behind-the-scenes kind of guy. He's always dealing with warp drive, never really on the bridge, and he's you know, only communicating with Captain Kirk, you know, through communicators, right? But you know what? J.J. Abrams really brings more out of his character. You know, it's a bit of an emotional ride and an exciting ride with regards to the relationship that these two characters have. And I think that, you know what? having him more involved with the story, even behind the scenes, is great. They did such a great thing with his character, and I think that there was a great balance that J.J. Abrams created. Okay, I don't believe that they were just like background characters or side characters. Everybody contributed in a very balanced way. Of course, Spock and Captain Kirk are the main characters, but then like these other guys, they're all very like dominant on screen. Okay, when they're on screen, they're dominant, and then even when they're off screen, they're doing something. So that is awesome. So great characters and great developments and great relationships. Speaking of relationships, when I saw the first movie, I wasn't really used to that Uhura and Spock relationship thing because I never remembered that from the original series. Well, they still have that going on, and I can see the bigger picture now. What J.J. Abrams did was that he showed us what it really leads into. It's not just about emotions between two characters, because what he gave us is that he let us know rather that this relationship actually affects the entire crew. And I love that about this dynamic, because it created a more fascinating level. Pardon the pun, but we are talking about a Vulcan. It brings the whole character dynamics to a more fascinating level, because what they do affects everybody. So it's a very, very it creates this synergy amongst the crew. Okay, so that is something that's very, very unique to J.J. Abrams' version of Star Trek. Okay, so he brought his own flavor to it. Speaking of J.J. Abrams, let's talk about the direction. Well, there's that lens flare and all that, but that's not a flaw in the movie. That is a visual signature that he has, and I have no problem with that. What I really want to talk about is the direction, and what J.J. Abrams did is he directed a great film. And it's not all about sci-fi exploration and all this like drama. Okay, it is about visual spectacle and not just action. The action is great. We get all kinds of action. We get space battles, ship to ship combat, we got chases, we got hand to hand fights and phaser battles, we got all that. But it is also just like, even moments of exposition is exciting. Okay, how you watch some movies, you got exposition, and then and it's kind of boring because they talk too much. Okay, they talk too much about there's nothing wrong with dialogue, but they talk too much about stuff that doesn't really add or contribute to the story in any way. Well, what J.J. Abrams does is he gives us exposition while action is going on. Okay, so he makes everything so exciting, and from beginning to end, you're completely engaged just because of the pacing of the movie. It just flows so nicely, and the way the storytelling is it's completely full of surprises. It's not about getting from point A to point B. It's from going to point A, but to get to point B, you got to go through this and this and this and this. The movie's just full of surprises, and I just love that about that. Okay, so and he's so good at J.J. Abrams is so good at conveying emotions. And I'm not just talking about happiness and laughter and sadness and disappointment. I'm talking about shock and surprise. Okay, because there's a lot of nail biting and edge of your seat, moments, because like J.J. Abrams did something really well, and that is bring the audience right into the movie and the story. Okay, because there's this one scene. Okay, there's one particular scene where I felt like I was in the bridge, because I was thinking, oh God, what am I gonna do? Okay, I'm putting myself in the shoes of the crew of the Enterprise, and I'm like, oh crap, what am I gonna do? I'm kind of at a you put me in a dead end, and I don't know what to do. Okay, so I felt that. Okay, I felt that I was part of the crew, and I didn't know what the heck was going to happen. It was like kind of a do or die moment. So that was really exciting. One thing I forgot to talk about was that J.J. Abrams really had some great villains in this movie. Okay, Benedict Cumberbatch, the introduction of the Klingons, but Benedict Cumberbatch, he is something that is like a force to be reckoned with, because hell of a lot better villain than Nero, played by Eric Bana. Eric Bana was a great villain, but then Benedict Cumberbatch, he really brought us to a whole new level, and that's one thing. That's one of two things that made this movie a lot better than the first one. That was a great villain and a hell of a lot more action, and the action was absolutely exciting and very, very like fresh and new. Okay, it wasn't just about space battles, but it was about like new visual like spectacles and new ways to really stimulate our senses. Okay, it was really, really awesome, and I gotta tell you, you gotta watch this movie in IMAX 3D. Okay, the IMAX 3D it was how it was meant to be seen. If you don't have IMAX, then watch it in 3D, because that 3D is great. When I watched the opening sequence, I was thinking, okay, wow, we're really bringing us into this really reminds me of Avatar quality 3D. The movie was shot partially with IMAX cameras, but it was meant to be in 3D, okay? It wasn't an afterthought or post-conversion like a lot of other movies. It was meant to be seen in 3D, and it was so engaging and so immersive. The format was so immersive, and I really saw the depth, and I also saw the 3D come at me, and it was amazing. I really, really loved it. I mean, I'm paying $19 for a movie. That's what I paid for IMAX 3D, so I felt that, you know, we better get our money's worth. But I'll tell you that J.J. Abrams gave us everything. It was an action-driven movie, it was a visually driven movie, a story-driven movie, and a character-driven movie, all like delivered to us in one great package, okay? You know, it was a great package he gave us, and you know, I took it all in and I got my money's worth. So it was great. And I love all the tributes and homages to the original series. You know, if you're a fan, you will know what the heck I'm talking about. Now, I give this movie a 9.25 out of 10, okay? It's a lot better than the first one. I gave the first one a 9 out of 10, but once we start getting into like 9s, you know, like it's hard to make a perfect film. Like, this film is not quite perfect in my opinion. I still give it a really high score, but the two things that I felt that could have been done better was, I felt that, now this is not a major thing, but the story, you know, while it was full of surprises, I felt that some of it was predictable. Now, this is not a flaw. This is not a flaw in any way. I just found that, you know, as I was watching this movie, you know, there's so many surprises, it made me want to keep on guessing. I want to keep on guessing what's going to happen next. I was able to predict a few moments, okay? So that kind of, you know, took away from it a little bit from me, but still doesn't flaw the movie. Now, another thing that I felt was a bit of a, you know, a negative point was that I felt the transition from the grand finale, like the final battle, to the closing sequence, you know, the end sequence. I thought the transition could have been done a lot better. I'm not talking about the ending. I'm talking about from the final battle to the ending. Okay, I thought that transition could have been done better. Okay, because the end is supposed to leave an impression on you. Well, you know, if they did that a little better, I could have, you know, walked out with like, wow. And I still did say wow, but I did go, wow. You know what I mean, okay? I felt that part could have been done a little better. But other than that, still a great film, okay? A superb film, an absolutely fantastic film, and all the other positive adjectives that I could look up in a thesaurus. J.J. Abrams did a great job, and I can't wait to see Star Trek 3. All right, watch this movie in IMAX 3D, and I hope you enjoyed this review. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation, also follow me on Twitter, @RaginNation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. And they hated the film for that. So I want to know, you know, and I know that I'm presenting this video to the Ragin Nation, and I want to tell you guys that